Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome once again to NOLA Theater Talk. My name is Alan Smason, and again, we broadcast this on the NOLA Theater Folk Facebook group, our theatercriticism.com Facebook page, and also on YouTube on my own channel there. Tonight, we're very pleased to have two of the actors and one of the co-directors, actually one of the same person, who are representing part of the Irene Collective's production of Streetcar Named Desire. And we're going to bring both of them in right now. First off, Jaclyn, Bethany, welcome back to the show. You were on here talking about years, I guess last year, the Wildfire Weeds. Was that the name of the group?
Mm-hmm.
And again, you had done at Big Couch, where this production is going to be. You had done two early Tennessee Williams works that were transformed later on into A Streetcar Named Desire, and also one that was eventually used to become what was Tennessee Williams's initial success with the Glass Menagerie. So again, congratulations. I understand you took that show on the road. At the time we talked last, you said you were going to take it on the road and you're going to bring it to New York, and I suppose you had a good run because you're back again. So
yeah.
Now, what was the point of I mean, obviously you love Tennessee Williams, that it must strike a chord with you, but and again, the Tennessee Williams New Orleans Literary Festival just concluded, so you were able to piggyback with them and put this production of A Streetcar Named Desire. Not a terribly easy thing to do. In a rather small performing space and given a limited amount of time for rehearsals and things of that sort. So I would, definitely recommend people who have not seen this yet to go and enjoy themselves. There are certain aspects of it that, you've taken, given, the small numbers of people that you have in the cast as far as it goes, and the creative team pulling it all together. I thought you did a tremendous effort there. So let's also welcome one of your actors who plays the role of Mitch. This is Justin William Davis. Justin, welcome to the show.
Hello, hello.
And as I was saying earlier, we welcome you. I know Jaclyn's got a little coffee going on, and I've got a little grape juice. And the reason why I have grape juice today is that tonight, as the show is being shown, we are recording it earlier, but I am at my family Seder for Passover, and we're going to be having wine. And it's early in the morning while we're recording this, so I'm going to be drinking some grape juice. Justin and Jaclyn, what did you all bring in the room for to drink? I think you were drinking coffee, maybe, Jaclyn, huh?
Well, it's actually it's a Darjeeling green tea.
Green tea is perfectly acceptable. Anything's acceptable, even water in a fancy cup. That's fine. Justin?
I have some tea as well, some dandelion root tea.
So I would think that tea would be probably a wonderful drink that would be probably something that Blanche DuBois would probably be more accustomed to than anything else, don't you think? Aside from the swill she drinks.
The whiskey. Yeah.
Probably as a young lady, though, you would imagine that she would have been, given instruction as to how to properly receive a young gentleman caller, and that she would have tea at those
tea.
What would you
probably
think?
I would like lemonade or iced tea or something if it's hot,
So Jaclyn, you're a co-director, and again, you did this, I think, in a rather short time. When did you really start doing the rehearsals for this?
We rehearsed for a month. We had 3 weeks, and then we had a week of previews, I guess, with tech, and we had a student audience, and then we had a preview audience. And then in terms of planning and producing the show and conceptually it was a year. So the last time we did the show that you saw, which was Interior Panic and The Pretty Trap, was in May or April. It was a year ago in New York. So I think from that moment, we decided to do this show, as sort of an extension of that.
And we're going to be
Moving
showing
forward.
pictures, production shots from the show. But I wanted to kind of talk to you first before we start obscuring our faces with the production shots. But again, I have to say that it was good to see you on stage performing once again. But you picked out a very good cast, and the aspects of the big couch stage, as it were, is very intimate. The characters are really literally moving into the audience and in front of it, and you're right there on stage with the characters. So if you've ever felt like you're somewhat distant watching a play and from afar, this really gives you the feeling of being immersed in it in a very real way. And that's, I guess, what you were striving to do, and also occasionally using some subdued, sultry, what I would call bluesy or jazz music from evocative of New Orleans as well. And interestingly enough, the big couch on Desire in St. Claude is not that far away from where Tennessee Williams had actually set the original Kowalski home, as it were, the area around Elysian Fields where she gets off. Of course, circuitously, nobody takes the route that she does, but that's another story. I think a little bit of license there we allow to the playwright.
Yeah, I mean, I think he liked the name Elysian Fields too, and like sort of where the gods go to die, in Greek mythology. And
Well,
so
I think it's an ethereal kind of like setting for heaven. It's like the
yeah,
cemeteries. You have a bus that says cemeteries, or back in the day they used to have a streetcar that would say cemeteries, and another sign that says Elysian Fields, which is the afterlife. So the whole idea that you get on a streetcar named Desire, that's part of what life is all about. So you have the present day, and then the portion to come, so to speak. And the way you get there is through cemeteries. So, and that's obviously a connection to the fact that we're all mortal, and we all are here for a short time. So again, with that realization, Justin, how did you get involved in the project? Did Jaclyn know you in advance, or was this an audition and you got the part?
Yeah, it was an audition, and got the part. Auditioned back in, I forgot when we did the auditions, but
like November.
Yeah,
So
November.
Give me a little bit of background. Where were the auditions held?
So we worked with casting director Hunter McHugh, who is also one of the producers, and we cast everyone local for the ensemble, and he has such a wonderful network of act. I mean, I know some act. I knew of Justin. I think I definitely knew your name, and I'd seen Sinners, and but I am really grateful to him for really pushing the diversity of New Orleans and New Orleans talent, because that's a really important aspect in the show and for the company to be. And because I had done much smaller shows before with smaller casts, so like bringing this with a full 11-person ensemble. So we worked with him, and we did the Stanley and Stella were cast. Lauren, who plays Stella, played the earlier version of the Stella character in New York with me last May. And so I knew I wanted her to do this. We've known each other for like 9 years. So I felt that there would be a, you
already had an established relationship.
A friendship. Yeah. Like a relationship with her. And then for Stanley, we sort of did a really open, wide search.
And that I have to say, I know there's the three principles, as it were. but he comes across as I would say one of the more attractive Stanleys out there. And you said he was a part of a nationwide, you know, stage audition.
Yeah, he went to school in New Orleans, and so he has some New Orleans connections. But yeah, we looked everywhere. It's a really difficult role to cast, and
Yeah, well,
it's
the thing is, you're supposed to be Stanley. From my standpoint, obviously having Marlon Brando done it back in what 47, I think, something like that. You got a guy who's got great looks, but again comes across as Blanche likes to say, as an ape in a sense. Like as somebody who's really more of an animal, who really dominates Stella and has his baser aspects of his manhood coming through, rather than the gentlemanly type of attributes that she's accustomed to, as it were. Although we all find out later on that she's probably accustomed more to the former than to the latter.
Yeah, but I think for Mitch too, we were really looking. I think that this relationship, and oftentimes in staging, sort of gets brushed to the side, and I feel like scene 6 is the longest scene in the play, and I think I don't know if I have a favorite scene, but it would definitely be up there, and I think it's when she's the most honest with Mitch, and so I think we really wanted to find someone who could bring a really unique quality, like their own interpretation to this part, that also kind of comes with a little bit sometimes of like tropes of, Justin is so playful and wonderful and like and real, and I feel like that really strengthens, you believe that he's actually an option for Blanche, where there's a real connection between them, and sometimes it feels like he's just there. But I hope in our production there is hope for this relationship, and it makes the tragedy even worse.
Justin, how would you describe Mitch?
I would say Mitch he's complicated. He's complicated like a lot of men, not just in that time period, but just in general. He's sincere, he's honest, and I would say one of his flaws may be that he doesn't he isn't as stern as he should be. He might be just a tad bit too soft isn't the word, but
well the thing is let me just address the issue. What I've always felt is that Mitch tended to maybe be the victim, if you will, or perhaps allowed himself to be put into the position he's in because of his mother. That his mother is a fundamental part of his life, and he's dedicated himself to be a faithful son, which might mean that he can't have a relationship with another woman because of it. Is that a possibility?
Well, there's that. There's, because of his mother, there's a certain level, there's a type of woman that he believes there's a qualityness that there has to be, which is why once the truth comes out about Blanche, he still can't go through with her, because there's a qualityness that he has high standards, and that's because of his mother. His mother has put this weight on him, if you will.
And the question is, are the standards he have perhaps impossible to ever address?
At his age, at this time, if he truly wants to, get married, he's gonna have to break that down a little bit.
I guess the question also, in the play, he really doesn't examine Blanche close up until towards the end, when she gets literally exposed to the light. Jaclyn, how did you approach that scene?
The scene where he rips the lantern off?
Yes.
Well, to me, I think that the shift happens on, well, like in terms of that day on her birthday when Mitch doesn't show up, and so she turns into she starts to spiral, and Stanley has already, started to expose her and found out about her promiscuous past, and so she's constantly paranoid that he's told Mitch or anyone that's around them, or and she believes, I think, that Stella knows too. But the scene with the where Mitch returns, I think it's a difficult scene because she's just come from being attacked by Stanley, who has basically given her a bus ticket and kicked her out. And then Stella's gone into labor, so she's in the house alone. And she's drinking and sort of, I believe that Blanche has, my interpretation, I suppose, has some undiagnosed, bipolar or something like this that at that time they didn't quite know how to deal with. And I don't know that I feel like because of her circumstances and all that she went through, it was exasperated. And so things like triggers, like something not going to plan, being like, verbally attacked, and in that way sort of trigger these episodes. And so I think she is sort of in a very, very broken, delusional state by the time that Mitch shows up. She's hearing the music from when Alan, her husband, killed himself, which I think is also, Mitch is the one that is able to really see her. And I think that is sort of tracked in that scene. And the light is really interesting because it's such a the kind of the poeticness of Blanche of being this moth that has this ephemeral quality and doesn't want to be seen in the light, and she's trying to really not show who she really is to Mitch, even though she kind of already has. So I think that scene just sort of evolved naturally. I think they're in both kind of real conflict. I think Mitch's conflict is just the deceit and allowing himself to, because I feel they both really, I loved or thought they were falling in love. There was something. And so, also to be at their ages and like a post World War II world when everyone was married, or and they're these two people that just she says, I was played out, I came here, I met you, like, she never thought this would happen. And so I think that there is a lot of sadness, but she also at the very end of the scene, once she's seen in the light, is like, yeah, this is who I am. Like, I had a lot of intimacies with people, I was around death, I'm not who I presented to you, but I also didn't lie, which I think is, but for him, it's not, it's heartbreaking. It's not enough, because he had this idea of her and she was not that.
Right. And again, holding Blanche up to the same standards as his mother, I think is an impossible situation, right, Justin?
Right. Exactly. Yeah. You can't do that.
So again, there are aspects of the characters that come to mind. Blanche is you mentioned she's at her wit's end. She's a broken woman when she shows up on the steps, but she's doing everything she can to appear to be really put together and really refined, etc. But from the very first time that she runs to grab the liquor, you realize that there's something there that's about to unravel, that she needs something to keep her together at that point in time.
She's lost everything, which I think you know, I think sometimes there's interpretations of Blanche coming in, you know, just like, oh, like everything, like just glamorous and everything is fine, but like textually, dramaturgically, like there's a lot of loss and desperation, and she's masking. And like,
She's also blaming Stella
yeah,
for, you know, having left and
yeah, and she dealt
having
with
to carry on and
everything.
get a new life. You know, I mean, it's unfortunate. Um, uh, in terms of obviously playing with Mitch, you have one dynamic. You know, playing opposite the actor who portrays Stanley, that's a lot different than there's not a lot of tenderness there. There's at first a little bit of respect, obliging, you know, but uh, there's a lot of resentment. The fact that, you know, you're the third wheel. Um, uh, I would love
Yeah.
to. I'd love to hear your take on how you approached that relationship in terms. I mean, you'd already sort of explored it before, but you know, with this particular production.
Well, yeah. I mean, so the first week or two of rehearsal, I don't remember now the timeline, but like I didn't have any of the scenes with Mitch. So I was constantly being like in the uh in the relationship in the rehearsal room with Stanley, which is like not an easy like mental place to be. Because I mean they do it to each other, but
Mm-hmm.
it is like a constant sort of struggle for Blanche to try to stand up for herself and figure out how to um push his buttons and sort of also try to win. And I think we explored a lot of different versions of what that could be before we sort of landed on what you see in the play, which I think is like she knows, you know, that there's that kind of classic true it like, you know, interpretation that they know who each other are from the minute they see each other. So she sees who he is and he's not giving her what she wants sort of from the get-go. So there's this constant push and pull, and she's shocked that her sister would marry this person, but also I think she is intrigued and somewhat attracted to the danger of him and the way that he is physically.
Yes.
But you know, in a lot of on the other flip side of that, Mitch is her more kind of idealized, you know, he treats
Well,
her, she sort of has to train him a little bit, but he is sort of treating her
right.
as she wants to be
With
treated.
respect, I guess you might say. But again, I think it's a classic example of a bad boy versus a good boy, if you will. That Mitch takes on all the uh, you know, the aspects of someone who's a gentleman, et cetera, and Stanley takes on the other aspects of the boorish behavior of misogynistic men. You know, and but again, women seem to have an attraction to the bad boys often rather than to the men who are on the sidelines who are trying to do good, trying to maybe stand out, maybe not in an effective way. So,
Yeah.
what do you think,
Can you
Justin?
do? What can we do as good guys, as Mitches? What can we do? There's
You
nothing to
know,
do.
yeah.
Embrace
So
our dark side, maybe.
so we can't all be bad boys. I mean, you know, can't all have motorcycles. You know. So Jaclyn, tell me a little bit about playing opposite. You know, obviously you've had experience with her before, but playing opposite the your co-director, as it were, in terms of how did you all set up those scenes with each other? Were there other aspects that y'all brought to that were a little bit
Oh,
different
with
this time around?
Lauren, who's
Yeah,
Stella.
with
Um,
Stella.
yeah, she so um I think because we knew we were doing this for so long, like there was a lot of um just natural like excitement between the two of us and figuring out how we were gonna play the relationship, because I think that because of the movie and the original Broadway production, a lot of the focus tends to be on the kind of icon of Stanley, which was like interesting. I spoke on a scholar panel at the festival, and that was coming up a lot too, and how, you know, the most recent revival on off Broadway was Paul Mescal, who is like, you know, one of the biggest rising movie stars right now, playing Stanley, and sort of the whole production was built around that. And you know, what was interesting about that production, and some that I've seen, that it actually was directorially about the sisters, but I think that Stanley feels like the thing that's bringing them together and tearing them apart as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I think for Lauren and I, we really we built like our history together, and sort of where we came from and how she got there, like the choices she made versus the choices Blanche made, and how that's affected their relationship, because they're essentially estranged. And
Yeah.
I think that first scene, Blanche shows up. She's not expected. I think there was in some letter she said she might, you know, be coming at some point, and like she's taken this leave of absence from the school, which isn't clear to Stella when she arrives, but Stella is actually very shocked that Blanche has shown up, and she's not ready for her, and she has all this stuff going on in her personal life, but it's her sister. And so there's the sense of, you know, both guilt for Stella leaving, and like Blanche has nowhere to go. And I think they have a lot of shared history and also trauma that they've dealt with in different ways, coming from this like crumbling plantation that has a lot of dark connotations that, you know, Stella has completely removed herself from. And Blanche, I think, has struggled with what that also was. But so I think that they're, you know, now they're both very smart. And I think that's something that hopefully was apparent in our production. And Stella and Lauren and I kind of talked a lot about, is just like they are smart women, and they're just they're not victims, but they have, because they're women in this time, these are their circumstances based on their choices they've made.
Right. Yeah. And again, I think there are aspects to this that you all bring out that are really lovely. You know, there's a certain part of the two sisters where you said rightfully that Stella's not expecting Blanche, and when she gets, I guess she gets a letter but she doesn't want to reveal it to Stanley at that point, because she doesn't know how she's going to. She's accepted her life. She's pregnant. You know, she's accepted the fact that she's going to be giving birth to a child that she's going to be bringing in the world with her husband. You know, so she's had to accept the circumstances she's in. I would imagine that Stanley's bringing in a certain amount of income, but it can't be a lot, you know. So certainly there, you know.
Yeah, and I think that's also it's to me, I think that one thing we thought about is that it's actually like Stella's house. Stella had some sort of money from the family when she moved. This, like, she rented the apartment. Now, obviously, it's in his name, but there's all this stuff about the Napoleonic Code that he's obsessed with everything that she brought in that's now his.
Right.
So yes, but you know, it is interesting that she was the kind of, at first, the one with the kind of money in the background, and that's also what kind of attracted them to each other, or him, you know. And
he saw the picture of the fancy house. He thinks, aha, I got myself a gold mine here. So Justin, what in terms of your dealing, you know, with Stanley, I guess, you know, there's a certain amount of male relationships there, you know, the card games, etc. I would imagine you have to approach that a little bit differently than you did in your scenes, obviously, opposite Jaclyn as Blanche. But were there any aspects of the card games or anything that you enjoyed particularly, that you'd like to share a little bit?
Going in, I never played poker before. So one of the other actors, Gil, who plays Pablo, he has a group of friends who every Monday they get together and they play a game of poker. And he invited the guys of the play, KC, who plays Steve, and Patrick, who plays Stanley, to come over to hop in a game of poker. So I did that. We did that. I lost about $30. If anything, that lets me know that it's real. You can lose.
And the original name wasn't for one of the early iterations of it was the Poker Night, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was the last name before Streetcar Named Desire.
Yeah.
And also, one thing that we like explored somewhat with this is that they're, obviously they were war buddies. They saved each other's lives. So there's a whole history between Mitch and Stanley being at the Battle of Salerno, which was one of the deadliest battles of World War II. And I think in a sense why, he saves him from Blanche too. Because they have this like brotherhood. But it was so fun. Sorry, Justin, I'm like talking, but it was so fun watching them work that poker game and like the stuff that you do to, because Justin, can you talk about, I'm sorry, I'm interviewing you, but like how your decision like to sort of pursue Blanche in that moment, like at the poker party?
I mean, the poker becomes a child's game at that point, and I see the real mission. The real mission of the night has opened up, and it is to get to know Blanche DuBois. So there is no more poker night after that.
Well, she's always dependent upon the kindness of strangers. We know that for sure. Jaclyn, I appreciate you're being able to get Justin in for us to discuss this, and tickets are still available for this Saturday. Now, I assume this is it. The end is near, unfortunately. Has it been a good run for you so far?
Yeah, yes. I mean, we'd love to do it again or keep doing it or whatever, but it's it's been such a long road to get here, and so it's so it's like bittersweet that this is ending, and it's been a really wonderful time, and I think the cast and team we've had is amazing, so I feel really lucky.
And we're blessed to have you, 2 years in a row connected to the Tennessee Williams New Orleans Literary Festival.
Yeah.
Are you planning on doing this again next year, or are you taking a time off?
I mean, I don't know. I go back and forth, and it's just I don't know. I don't know what I do. Like I'd have to think about it.
Do you live in New Orleans regularly, or do you stay in New York?
I live between here and New York. Yeah. So and Mississippi.
Yeah, and of course, like I said, there are people who call New Orleans. So Michael Cerveris, of course, I was with on Monday night at our Crescent City Theater Awards. He calls New Orleans homes. He's a big Saints fan, of course, and he moved here, a New Orleanian by choice, as I like to call him. But he also, of course, calls West Virginia home. He's got a place in Pittsburgh, but of course, I've actually visited with him in New York, where he lives, not that far away from a lot of times where I stay. In that area. So, I appreciate the fact that he has many different places where he can hang his hat, but he loves to be here in New Orleans. And I assume the same for you.
That's the same. I mean, my dad is from here, my grandfather. So I grew up 2.5 hours away in Jackson, Mississippi. So New Orleans was always like the biggest like city that was close to us. And I think when I moved back, or during the pandemic, really, one of my like long-term life career goals was to start a theater company in the South and give back to a place that gave me and shaped me. So I think I would love, in an ideal world, yes, to do a show here once a year. I think it's a very, very special experience, and we've built a
and again, the reference to Irene Collective, some people may not be familiar, so again?
Yeah. So this is Irene Mayer Selznick. There were a lot of invisible women in Tennessee Williams's career, but also in many great artists' careers. And so she was the original producer of Streetcar Named Desire. And so she had a Hollywood legacy. She is the daughter of Louis B. Mayer, and she was the wife of David Selznick,
Yes.
who produced God with the Wind. So yeah, I think she changed theater history. And so I think that was why we named this after her, and not just for this show, but other ones in the future. It's like,
and David Selznick was also responsible for bringing Alfred Hitchcock to the United States too. So, a lot of tradition there, not only on the stage but also in film. That she's
yes.
connected to.
And I'm a filmmaker, so
yeah. Have you ever had a chance to go to the Walnut Theater in Philadelphia? It's the oldest theater in the United States. That's still around since I think around the time of Thomas Jefferson, perhaps. But more to the point, it's where the original out of town rehearsals and tryouts were for Streetcar before it went to New Haven, I think, and they had to rewrite part of it before it went to New York. But it's really interesting to go there backstage along the back walls, etc. You can find lots of pictures, etc. And Marlon Brando in his pajamas. And Jessica Tandy, just amazing, pictures that you steep in history that you'll be able to see. So I appreciate you being able to share a lot of the aspects of this production. Congratulations again. We have one final weekend ticket still available for Saturday. It's sold out on Friday. So I'm sorry that they can't get in. Is there a wait list, by the way? Anybody?
There is, yeah.
Okay, so you have it here on authority that you can get in on Saturday, but there's a wait list on Friday. But who knows? May work out for you. Justin, what are you doing after this? Have you got any idea? Any plans coming up?
Nah, just some sleeping, and then that's about it.
Have you really has this role really resonated with you a lot? Or I mean, it's not often that somebody has an opportunity to play Mitch. It's just not presented that often in New Orleans. So you're one of a handful of actors who've been able to do that.
Yeah, and at first, I was like, I can't play this part, but there are a lot of aspects about Mitch that I see myself in. So if anything, this was a very mind-opening and a great personal journey for myself, for how I want to live my personal life. So I'm glad I was able to do this.
A lot of people say that Tennessee Williams wrote very well for women, and I think that's true. But he also writes very exceedingly well for men. He understands men and their you might say baser instincts too.
Yeah,
you really can find a lot about humanity by reading and watching his plays, on stage. So again,
it could be scary. It could be scary.
Sometimes it hits home a little bit too much, But again, Jaclyn, Justin, thank you for being with us. And again, check out the streetcarnola.net site to get your tickets now while you still can. We went a little long, but I think this is an important play, not only for you and the Irene Collective, but also obviously because it's such an important play in terms of New Orleans, its character, etc. And I think of all the plays that Tennessee does, I mean, perhaps Glass Menagerie to me is the ultimate memory play. But I think Streetcar really captures the essence and somehow or other through its atmosphere and its characters of what New Orleans was back in the day, and perhaps may eventually go back to, and in terms of the way people react with and interact with one another. It's really that neighborhood aspect that it comes through with all the people, and of course we're not perfect. We have flaws. We have ourselves to blame for many of the aspects of what we see in these characters. But again, a beautiful play and one that's rendered exceedingly well by your company. And again, you two on stage as well as all the other players. Congratulations. And again, I hope that people avail themselves of an opportunity to see this. So again, I'm going to ask you all to stick around for a little bit while I say goodnight to everybody. Again, my name is Alan Smason. Again, we're talking a little bit about the Irene Collective's production of A Streetcar Named Desire right here on NOLA Theater Talk, and hope that you'll check out the recordings that we have that are available still on NOLA Theater Folk Facebook group, also theatercriticism.com Facebook page, and my own YouTube channel. So we'll check those all out. Again, I hope that everybody will be back with us as we are trying to do this on as many Mondays as we can, which is a traditional night for theater to be dark. But because we had the Crescent City Theater Awards this past Monday, we decided to broadcast this tonight. Again, we hope that you'll go check out the Irene Collective and The Streetcar Named Desire. It's at Big Couch, which is right off the corner of Desire and St. Claude Avenue. I believe it's I'll have to check it, but I think it's 4510 St. Claude, but we'll check that out. But it's right on the corner, right off of Desire and St. Claude. Y'all have a very nice evening, and I'll see you at the theater.